Go live on Instagram, and we're live on Instagram. And I do this every time. I was looking back on our lives that we do, and every time I'm like live on Instagram, like if you roll through it. So good morning here with the Dahlia Group. We are live at 10 o'clock this morning. We are with Joel. Joel is a insurance guy, and you work for what company?
With Goosehead Insurance.
Yeah. All right. So Joel is here to start. I think this might be finishing up, or maybe we have one more. We have one more episode of our who belongs on your investment team. We brought Joel along because insurance is a super important part of your investment team and how you're going to grow your personal assets and protect them, right? Because once you get them, you got to make sure you protect them, right?
Yeah, that's where we come into play. If you
Right.
live somewhere or drive something, it's important to have insurance and
Right.
protect those assets that you
Right.
accumulate.
Right. So tell us about what is it, what's one of the most common questions that you'll get with insurance?
Well, there's a lot of different questions that you get.
Yeah.
Lately, it's been why have my rates gone up? With the
Oh.
market right now, a lot of rate increases have been coming into play with cost of inflation, that type of stuff.
Okay.
We deal mostly with home and auto insurance.
Yep.
As an independent brokerage. We can shop around with dozens of carriers to see who's offering the best rates and coverage.
Right.
But usually on the home side, we want to make sure that the home's covered up to its full replacement cost. That way, if something major does happen, you've got the coverage there to rebuild your home.
Right.
Same with your personal property.
Right. Yeah.
All your personal belongings you've accumulated over the year. You want to make sure that you've got enough coverage to replace all that stuff as well. So a lot that goes into home auto insurance, and even life insurance can be used as mortgage protection to protect your home as well if something were to happen to one of the spouses with two incomes in a
I
household.
don't want to smile when that comment comes out, right? Like, hi, big smile. No, just kidding. Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. And so when it comes to Joel and Joel's company who he works for is he like he said, he shops around for multiple different insurance carriers. Is that the right word that I'm using?
Yeah.
Okay, so he is able to give a breakdown. So when you go to purchase your home, Joel is able to send, and I have personally been involved in this email, sent through a list of all the different carriers and the cost of all the different carriers and what that looks like for them, right?
Yeah, so we've got a digital agent link where clients can put their information on their new home. It'll ask things like the age of the roof, wiring, plumbing age.
And if they don't know that,
if they're not sure, we can go to the listing agent and see if they might know.
right?
Or a home inspection can be very helpful as well if you're lucky
Okay.
enough to get one of those in today's market. Just want to make sure that everything's in good working order and there aren't any hazards when a new insurance company is looking to insure your home. And we work with a lot of big name carriers like your Progressives, Travelers, Nationwide, Allstate, and also able to shop with some local regional carriers who you might not have heard of as well, but do a great job as far as taking care of clients when claims do occur. So.
Yeah. So, and you can kind of pair those up, right? So you're you take something from this one and something from that one type of thing, and you can kind of navigate that for your clients, right?
Yeah. So clients are usually better off bundling their insurance either with the same carrier, or we do have some carriers who specialize just in home insurance and some that just do auto. So we're able to create bundle deals with those other carriers as well if it doesn't make sense to have them both with the same company. But clients are usually best off with keeping both their home and auto within the same agency to get those bundle discounts.
And talk a little bit about flood insurance, because this is a little bit of a sticking point in Lancaster County right now, or not right now, but because of the Susquehanna River, Conestoga River, all of those things, and then in Lebanon County too, with the Swati being there, we have a lot of areas that are in flood zones. And what does that look like for the clients that you work with?
Yeah, so if you're looking at buying a house and it might be in a flood zone, it's a good idea to check that. Run a flood zone determination. And
Which Joel can do.
yeah,
Like that.
just a couple of minutes and we can tell what flood zone it's in
Yep.
and if the mortgage company is going to require flood insurance or not. We also have a few options when it comes to flood insurance. There's the FEMA-backed National Flood Insurance Program carriers that
Yep.
offer government-backed flood insurance. We also have some private carriers as well. So we're able to provide some options when it comes to flood insurance also. Some of the private carriers offer some additional benefits and higher coverage in some instances. And rates can vary a bit between the private carriers and our FEMA-backed carriers.
Right. In a positive way.
Yep.
Most of the time.
Sometimes.
Okay, all right, sometimes.
It depends on the house.
Okay.
Some of our private carriers use satellite imaging to take a look at the home from satellites.
Right.
And if it's super close to a high-prone area, the rates could be even higher than the National Flood Insurance Program.
I gotcha.
And vice versa. If the satellite imaging looks like it's less of a risk, it could be a better rate with our private carriers as well. So kind of hit or miss depending on the property, but it's always free to get a quote and look into it. And even before making an offer, a good idea to check that flood zone and see what the insurance would look like.
Yeah, there's a house right now. We were just talking Peckway Valley. I have a client and it is in a flood zone, and it like this things that they've had to do to the house in order to like get the door from stop sinking, like that is just in a flood zone and there's just no way around it, unfortunately. So something else that I wanted to touch base with you. There's a lot of cash buyers out there right now. So what does your conversation look like with somebody who's doing a cash purchase and insurance?
Yeah, so we're still going to want to make sure that their investment is protected. Obviously we want their home insured up to the full replacement cost, whether it's cash or the mortgage company. Mortgage companies sometimes want additional restrictions, especially in a flood zone. A mortgage company will mandate flood insurance. They want to make sure their loan value is covered, or they'll want to make sure that it's covered up to the full replacement cost of the home as well. The cash buyers, if you have a mortgage, either way, we want to make sure you've got proper coverage and add a great rate there. So billing will look a little different. Oftentimes with new home purchases, we'll set up the billing to go to the mortgage company if there is one. If there's no mortgage company, then cash buyers just have to.
Can you escrow just homeowners insurance cost? Do you know that?
So I am not sure. You'd probably want to talk to a mortgage lender about how the escrow
Okay. So escrow is that portion of your bill that's going to pay from the mortgage company going to pay your homeowner's insurance and taxes, typically. So I wonder. I think that you can.
Believe so. I'd probably want to check with mortgage lender who sets up those escrow accounts.
That's fair.
But majority of new home buyers who do have a mortgage will escrow the homeowner's insurance. It gets paid at closing, and just part of your closing costs there. So,
one time a year.
Yep.
And what's an average right now? What are we looking at average-wise cost for a year for an average home in Lancaster County? Do you know?
So it's going to vary quite a bit.
Lancaster County is so weird.
There are a lot of factors that go into it. The age of the roof, the utilities, plumbing systems, the type of the roof. Is it a flat roof in Lancaster City? Is it, a new architectural shingled roof? So it'll vary a bit, but I'd say your typical, maybe 2,000, 2,500 square foot home with a relatively new roof.
Sure.
Probably in the $800 to $1,000.
I thought you were going to say $2,500 when you were talking about 2,500 square foot, guys,
Square
not
feet,
the cost of a yearly typical insurance. So what's the biggest thing that goes into the adjustment of cost?
So prior claims will play a big role. If there's someone who's had multiple claims in the past 5 years, that'll really increase the rates, as well as age of the roof. There's a soft credit pool as well, so the better your credit, the better your rates are going to be. Fair. As well, but it pays to work with an independent broker to be able to shop around, because some carriers will be more lenient than others when it comes to certain claims. and offer better rates for certain homes as opposed to others as well. So always a good idea to shop around a bit.
All right, and Joel does that one-stop shop, right?
Yeah.
Shopping around. So it's not like you as a person have to go from Joel to so-and-so and so-and-so. He gives a breakdown of everybody, like I said earlier, of who's going to give you, and it's not necessarily the better rate, right? It's different insurance, different coverages, different deductibles. What's the average deductible that we're looking at for homeowners insurance nowadays as well?
For homeowners insurance, we usually offer $1,000 deductible, kind of standard across Pennsylvania right now. Just the amount the insured pays before the insurance company kicks in if there is a claim. That can be adjusted as well. The higher the deductible, it's going to bring your cost down a bit. And there's also several endorsements on policies that are good to talk about and include, or let the client decide if they want to include them or not.
So what's like the number one endorsement for homeowners insurance we're looking at right now?
So the top one I usually recommend is going to be your water backup. So that's if your sewer line backs up into your home, or toilet overflows, sump pump backs up, garbage disposal, dishwasher, that type of thing.
Oh boy.
So that's
all the smelly stuff. You know, like your garbage disposal backs up, it smells, right? Everyone knows that. I hope nobody knows that, but it does. I know that. So explain to me, so someone has that happen, what do? They call
so
who and
anytime a client has a potential claim, we have a claims team here with Goosehead, as well as all of our carrier partners have adjusters that will work with the client to get the claim processed. So you can call myself or my Goosehead service team, and we'll get you in contact with our carrier's claims department, and then they'll get an adjuster involved and take care of the process from there.
Okay. And what was I gonna say? Is that endorsement, like, is that extra? Is it just something that you recommend? What happens if someone has a well and septic system? Does it cover that as well?
Yep, so well and septic's going to be separate. Buried utility line systems is a separate endorsement. Water backup is specific if water backs up into the home. A lot of carriers will actually exclude coverage for the well system and the septic system, even with those endorsements. Okay. But they'll cover the lines running to and from those. So always important to check with your agent, to check with the carrier to see what is covered and what's not covered under your policy.
Are you able to look at are you able to look at the home like on the MLS and say like, or on the MLS, and look at it and say like, okay, this is the coverage this specific house is going to need, like immediately?
Not necessarily. We usually run a replacement cost estimate that each carrier uses. So a lot of the information on the MLS listing will help us to determine what it's going to cost to rebuild. So the replacement cost estimate is used based on the square footage of the home, the quality of finishes, whether you've got builder's grade finishes or custom finishes. It'll impact the replacement cost. So we run that with the carrier to see what that dwelling limit should be. Make sure it's insured to full replacement cost, or even add additional replacement cost just in case. So.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So all of this, I have to tell you, is why we need someone like Joel on our team and on our side when we do these things. I feel like I've asked you these questions like 17,000 times just because I know my job and you know yours. And I just think that it's really nice to have these conversations over and over again, so we're able to really drill down, and we're really able to understand the most effective way to make sure our clients are getting the most out of their time and out of their money, and protecting the largest investment that you're going to have, right? Whether your house is, again, in the city, out on the outskirts, it is your biggest investment. So you're talking about replacing like inside items. One of the things I used to hear is that you should take pictures of all of your stuff, right? Is that something that they take into consideration, or like what does that look like?
Yes, so proof of ownership, essentially. It's easy when you're moving, when you're unpacking stuff, take pictures, document.
That's a good idea.
If you have any article of clothing or jewelry or collectibles of high value, you'll want to schedule those as scheduled personal property, because there are often sub-limits to jewelry as well. So we see a lot of times engagement rings are scheduled on the policy. You just need a quick appraisal for that.
What is valuable to someone isn't necessarily 100% valuable to somebody else. So how do you judge, like how does an insurance company really take that into play? So like, your old school Beanie Babies, like TY Beanie Babies, and like you're like, they're worth $1 million. And you're like, well, actually they're worth 25 bucks.
Yeah. So appraisals are always a good way to know exactly what they're worth. For collectibles, we do have carriers that will insure collections, whether it's like a stamp collection, trading cards, Beanie Babies, Pokemon cards, that type of thing. There's also jewelry insurance carriers out there with Jewelers Mutual that will insure jewelry. They just require an appraisal most times to do so. But our carriers will have...
Oh my gosh, hang on. All right.
Yep,
do you see it? What's happening? Oh wait, let me say no to this. Telemarketers calling at 10 o'clock. What is happening? Stop calling. Not clients, call away, but like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was a telemarketer call. I do appreciate that iPhones are doing that nowadays, where they're like, maybe spam. I'm like, thank you so much.
Spam likely. It saves you some time.
Oh man. Yeah. So some carriers are going to do appraisals. If if I know I have a client that's like, listen, like I have this whatever collection, I need somebody, you have specific, like carriers that you'll go to, or what does that look like for you? Like, what is that? Is that different?
Yeah. So there's a few options, especially with like say jewelry. There's Jewelers Mutual, will just insure the jewelry on a separate policy. There's also the option to insure it on your home insurance policy as scheduled personal property. So we usually quote it both ways and see which one is more affordable for the client. And go from there if we're going to schedule it on the home insurance policy or write a separate policy for them as well. But each carrier has different sub-limits in terms of value. Some carriers have sub-limits at $2,500 for an article of jewelry. Others will go up to $5,000.
Right.
So it's good to check with those guidelines with your carrier to see if scheduling is needed or not.
Okay. So like what's the most expensive thing that you've seen covered? You don't have to say the thing or the person or anything like that, but what's the amount?
Probably an
or that you've heard of.
Engagement ring. It was about, I think it was $45,000. Someone really loved their wife, I guess, right? So it's an expensive engagement ring that we did end up insuring on the home insurance policy. Just needed an appraisal to
and they added that on
personal property. Yeah.
Okay.
So.
And what's the weirdest thing then that you've ever seen?
Weirdest thing that I've quoted was probably an old truck. It was an old fire truck that someone had converted and added a hot tub to the back of it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Painted it like green and wanted to, take it to tailgates and stuff like that.
That's so cool, though.
Yeah, that one we weren't able to find a good carrier for it. Okay. But that was probably the most unique risk.
Yeah, like what do you really, how do you, like, it's not an RV or, I don't know. That's strange, but very cool. I want to be friends with that person.
Right? Yeah. It was a very interesting conversation, but...
yeah, that seems like a specialty type of item. Yeah. So do you point them in a different direction then? You're like, this is something that so-and-so can probably do, or right?
So we can try to connect them with other people, to get the insurance. Like pet insurance is one thing that we don't do, but point people in the right direction for those type of things. So
Yeah.
if it's something that's out of our normal wheelhouse, we try to do our best to refer that out to someone who can get the client taken care of.
We started my last like 9 to 5 before I came into real estate. They started doing pet insurance through our like health insurance, started covering pets in some sort of way, which I thought was nice.
There it is.
But that was interesting. All right, so we are talking with Joel about I just said real estate insurance here, about being part of a investment team that you have. So if somebody right now is already owns their home, already has all the things, already in with somebody that they've had for 10 years, and their rates are just going up a little bit and they just want to shop around, what do you suggest that they do?
So it's always a good idea to shop your policies every 2 to 3 years is generally what we recommend. Those rate increases happen with carriers, and it's good just to check in to see if there is a better option available. So there's a couple ways you can shop for insurance. One, you can just go online and fill out your information. A lot of times they'll sell that information to other agents. You'll get a bunch of calls, and that's not ideal.
You guys don't do that?
No, we do not do that. If you come to us, it just goes to me. I'll shop with 25, 30 carriers, see who's got the best option for you, and give you a call to customize coverage, kind of go over everything, make sure you understand it.
Sure.
And go from there. And then there's also captive agencies that just sell one line or one company as well. So we as independent brokers don't have access to those captive carriers, but they are out there as well and can be a good option too.
Okay, and what's one of those then? Do you want to?
Yeah, so like your State Farm and USAA captive carriers.
Okay, USAA, right? So you're not able to shop them. So because they're specific. Okay, that makes sense. And so if you want to shop them as well, that would be just a different. Just
like
shop.
Captive agent to reach out to as well. Yeah,
I gotcha.
Yeah.
So every 2 to 3 years is. And I think that I've heard you say before, it's not good to consistently change carriers though, right?
So carriers will also look at the length of time you've been with the current carrier. If it's been 2-3 years, usually you're good to go. But if you're switching your policy every couple of months and your time with that prior carrier is not the longest, they might want you to stick with someone for a little while. As well. Part of insurance is retention, right? So I want you to stay with the carrier at least for some period of time. It's usually not a good idea to switch every couple months or even every 6 months. But every couple years, especially if you get a rate increase, it's a good idea to shop around. And that's something that I do all the time for clients who have been with me. Maybe they've been with one carrier for 3 years and then their rate increases. We can move them to another carrier and usually save them some money at their renewals. So we do those reshops internally for you as well.
That's awesome.
To try to make sure you're always at the best spot.
That's awesome. Isn't this great? Isn't he great? All right. So anything that you want to say before we kind of tie things up and end our live here? Any what is that? Do you watch Hot Ones?
That do not.
Oh my God! If anybody, this is my plug. That's what I'm trying to say. Plug for Hot Ones. At the very end of it, they give them the opportunity to shout out or do a plug for like the show that the actor is doing, or a movie that's coming out, or a line of clothing that's coming out. So any plug you want to put out here that you guys are? Do you do any do insurance agents do specials?
Do specials? So we do not control the premium. I can't just magically lower the premium for you.
But we're gonna do the best we can possibly do.
Yeah, but if you've been with the same carrier for more than 2-3 years and the rates have gone up, or if you're looking at buying a new home or just want to make sure you've got the proper coverage, feel free to reach out. Always happy to take a look at your current policies, let you know ways we can improve coverage and see if we can save you some money too, right?
How long does something like that take you? Like, let's say I call you up today and I'm like, listen, I need you to look over this stuff. I have homeowners insurance, I have car insurance. I need you to shop around for me. What's the expected, hey, I'll get an email at this time?
Yeah, so your typical home and auto, if you have your current declaration pages and all the information we need to get quotes.
All that's online. You
Yeah.
can get all of that,
You can
right?
find it all pretty easily. If you've got an online login with your current carrier or a mobile app, you should be able to get your declaration page. It should show us
Right.
all of your coverages that you currently have as well. So if you have all the information we need, I can generally shop around with all my carriers in about 45 minutes or so
Right.
on the phone.
Right.
And we can narrow it down to the best option and go over everything on one phone call if you have everything. If not, we can break it up into two, maybe a 10-15 minute phone call to gather the information,
All right.
and then another 15 to 20 minute phone call to go over everything after we've shopped around. So,
There we go.
yeah.
And you're local.
Yep, so I am located up in Lidditz, Pennsylvania, right underneath the Appalachian Brewing Company. If you're
Which
ever,
is the best spot to be.
It is. It's also Lidditz Golf, where there's a golf simulator in there, and a barber shop, a lady that does facials. So
Right. They opened I remember back when they opened up ABC there, and it was just small. That's all it was just ABC. And now they have a bunch of little shops in there, which is
Yeah.
nice. Okay.
bunch of shops up there. So if you're in the area, feel free to stop by. But
Yeah. Do they still do the the market or whatever in the parking lot over? Because you guys have, you remember that, you know what I'm talking about, that parking lot, and then they have another identical parking lot on the other side.
Yeah,
I thought they had a market there. I think they might have moved it, but I think then COVID happened and lots of crazy things happened. Okay. Oh, and last thing, you have a background, like you've been doing this for some time.
Yeah.
I know he looks really young, guys. And he is young, but you still have been doing this, and your dad, right?
Yeah, so I've been in insurance, it'll be 4 years in July. My dad's a state farm agent out of Ephrata, been around for close to 30 years now. So we've got a good amount of insurance knowledge.
Yeah. And then Goosehead.
Goosehead, yeah.
Gooseneck is a beer, so sorry. This is where my mind is right now. So Goosehead is a backing, so he has all of this behind him as well, right? So it's a corporation or a company of some kind.
Yeah,
Go for it.
Goosehead's essentially a franchise, so there's a bunch popping up around here, Lancaster County, northeastern part of the country as well.
Okay.
So we're all independently owned and operated franchises. There are some corporate agents out of Texas and Colorado, North Carolina, I believe now. So there's the Mother Goose, as we call it, with the corporate there that's
adorable.
Helps us with our carrier appointments and servicing our clients, that type of stuff. So
all right.
It's a good outfit here. But yeah.
Awesome. All right. So why don't you go ahead? Do you have a phone number you want to put in here now?
Sure. I could be reached at 215-268-3104. We can also post a link to our digital agent where you can get quotes in 2 to 3 minutes of inputting your information, and then we can hop on a phone call from there to go over everything.
Awesome. All right. Yeah. So we'll put all that in our, I don't know if we can do it in Instagram, but we will do it definitely in our Facebook. Joel is one of our preferred lenders or preferred vendors that we have. So if you ever have any questions about anything that we've talked about, or you want to shop around a little bit, please feel free to reach out to us at the Dahlia Group here. You can reach us, and I'm going to try to do this flawlessly, girls. You can reach us by calling or texting at 717-333-7045, or you can email us at info@thedahliagroup.net. Again, all that information is going to be online. If you have any questions, you can always reach us on all these social media platforms. Joel also has social media platforms that you can reach out to him that way also. And I think that's a wrap.
That's it.
Successful. And what were you going to say?
I was going to say thanks for having me out here.
Of course. And I think we might be doing one more of this series for our who should be on your investment team. So stay tuned for that. And then we will be back next Wednesday, 10 o'clock. Check us out. I'm going to try to do this gracefully, which I never, ever do. All right. Thanks, guys. And then end.